If you're having wrist or hand pain doing push-ups, there's a couple of things that you can do to help with that from a PT perspective. The first thing to consider is that your hands are the only thing touching the ground from the upper body. So we want to make sure that your forearms, your wrists and hands are not relaxed. You want to have some contraction of your forearm flexors and your hands. The way we can accomplish that is by digging your fingers into the floor and trying to force your wrist or your hand into flexion that's moving this way. So you just want to be pushing into the floor when you do that, and you can change the muscle contraction to see which helps you most by pressing more with your thumb and your pinky. You can try doing your index finger and your middle finger. Just play around with it to see which gives you the most relief. Another thing that you can do is try to kind of screw your hands into the ground, clockwise on the right, counterclockwise on the left, and then you can try the other direction as well. Usually it's that outward motion that gives relief of shoulder and wrist pain because it puts your joints in a better neutral position. So that's the first thing that you can do. The next thing is to remember that when you're doing a push-up, it's a movement and control throughout the entire chain. So I need my thighs tight, I need my abs tight, I need my shoulder blades to be stable. If you haven't checked out my video on shoulder pain during push-ups, you can click on the link up above and I go over the importance of scapular or shoulder blade stability. So making sure all of those items are tight when you're down and up oftentimes will give a little bit of relief to your hand and wrist pain. So that's number 2. For number 3, we're going to talk about trigger points or areas of small muscle spasm in muscles that refer pain. So you can actually get referred pain down into your hand from muscle spasms in areas away from the wrist and hand. So particularly the serratus anterior muscles that run from your shoulder blade to your ribs and your subscapularis muscle, which is one of your rotator cuff muscles. Both of those muscles have been documented to show pain that refers into the hand. And because they're so active during a push-up, we want to make sure that we're able to alleviate the pressure from those muscles and see if that makes a difference. You can reduce the presence of those trigger points a number of ways. One way I'll show you is just applying direct pressure and then taking that muscle through its range of motion. So for that subscapularis, we're going to be able to attack it through the front of the shoulder blade. If you dig in the back of your armpit, there's a meaty mass, and then I'm going to use my T-pin muscle roller. You could use a tennis ball or a lacrosse ball as well. And I'm just going to catch that ridge, and then from there, I'm just applying pressure, and it's going to be a little bit sensitive. I'm going to take that arm through rotation back and forth like the subscap would work. It's a shoulder internal rotator. And then for the serratus anterior, I'm trying to get and follow along. There's kind of fingers of the muscle that go to the different ribs, and you can find where you're most sensitive. And once you find that area, then you can just take your arm through that pressing plus motion, and you should be able to feel a change in that sensitivity over the course of a minute or 2 of working through this. If you want more information on how to treat those trigger points, Upright Health's YouTube channel did a great job on that topic. I'll put a link for that in the video description. Now, all those points we just touched on are related to muscle control and giving you stability. Another problem that could come up for push-ups and having wrist pain or hand pain during push-ups is the fact that you actually don't even have the mobility to get into that wrist extension required. So the simple way to test that is placing your hands down, get on your hands and knees and come forward. You should easily be able to bring your forearm beyond that up and down perpendicular position if you have good mobility of your wrist. If you can't get to this position, then we know you have some wrist mobility issues, whether it was a prior injury or you just have some dysfunction and stiffness in there. That's something that you can work on before you do your push-ups. Just distract your wrist as much as possible. What that means is you're just pulling back the forearm and you're trying to separate the wrist bones and then work extension that way. There's a ton of different ways that we do this in physical therapy clinics to try to really gain range of motion, but just some gentle wrist stretching in that direction before you go into your push-ups will make a big difference if the stiffness is a problem for you. Hopefully this video helped your wrist and hand pain during push-ups. For more content to help you move your best, click down here. To subscribe to the channel, click over there. If you want to keep improving, you got to keep it moving.